Death is like the wind, always by my side.
What is up guys, it's Tempest and welcome to my Yone guide for Season 13. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a Challenger player since Season 4, peaking Rank 2 in Season 7. Since then, I've been 1000 plus LP on multiple accounts every single season, including this season where I currently hold 2 accounts at around 1000 LP. Most high elo players consider me to be one of the best Yone players in the world. In this guide, I'm going to teach you guys how to be the best of the best Yone players. By the end of this video, you will learn everything that you can about Yone and how to improve to be as good as a Yone player as me. First of all, why should you learn Yone? If you're looking for a champion that can solo carry games, then Yone is probably one of, if not the best champion in the game to 1v9 and carry your team, especially in lower elos. Also, Yone is a champion who has incredibly low cooldowns and has no resource bar, which means there is almost no downtime and you can always be fighting your opponent. Although, this is a good and bad thing, since this is why you see a lot of Yone players go 0-10. Another good thing about Yone is he does a mix of physical, magic, and true damage, which means one-tricking the champ feels pretty good no matter what team comp you have, at least for the most part. If you enjoy being the star player of your team, having immense highlight play potential, and solo carrying games, then Yone is the right champ for you. Yone's passive is called Way the Hunter. Yone alternates between doing physical damage and physical and magic damage on his auto attacks. He also gains 2.5% crit chance from items, so if we purchase a crit cloak, we gain 38% crit chance instead of the usual 15. This allows Yone to get 100% crit in 2 items, which makes his 2 item power spike insane compared to other crit champions. Also, if you build even more crit chance after hitting 100%, every 1% extra crit will be converted to 0.4 bonus AD, so don't feel bad about building more than 2 crit items, which you will be doing a lot. Yone's Q is Mortal Steel. This is going to be your main ability that we max first. Yone thrusts this sword wherever your mouse is pointing. This ability also scales off your bonus attack speed and even gets lowered with attack speed you gain from runes like Lethal Tempo. The cooldown caps at 1.33 seconds. Every time you land Q on a monster, minion, or champion, you will gain a stack of Gathering Storm. After you gain 2 stacks, your Q gets upgraded and turned into a dash that can be used to knock up enemies or as an escape tool and can even go over walls. Yone's W is Spirit Cleave. This is going to be your main defensive ability. Just like his Q, this ability also scales off attack speed, which caps at 6 seconds. Not only does attack speed lower his ability's cooldown, but it also lowers the cast animation. This ability will give you a shield based on the amount of enemies you hit. It will even give you a smaller shield if you hit minions or monsters with it. Just like Yone's passive, this ability also does physical and magic damage. Yone's E is called Soul Unbound. First thing I need to say about this ability that is not an escape tool. Whichever direction you use the ability, the return point will go the reverse way, which means if you try to use your E to get to the turret, you are actually just putting yourself into even more danger. When you use this ability, you have 5 seconds of being in spirit form. Spirit form grants movement speed and puts a mark over everyone that Yone hits while in this form. When spirit form ends, all the damage he deals in this form is dealt again based on a percentage of the total damage dealt. Another thing to note about this ability is that you can recast it whenever you want and do not have to use the full 5 seconds. Also, if you are CC'd or casting an ability after the 5 seconds are up, you will not return to your E until the CC is finished or the ability is finished casting. The last thing I want to point out about Yone's E is that the damage dealt back only counts from his abilities and items. So summoner spells like Ignite, items like Bork, and damage dealt to shields does not count. Lastly, we have Yone's ult, Fate Sealed. Yone blinks to a target location while pulling enemies in his path to a target location, but stops at the last champion hit. This ability is insane and can single-handedly win a teamfight and carry a game. The bad thing about this ability is that it is extremely telegraphed. So if you try to use it on someone who has a dash and isn't CC'd, it will always miss if the enemy is half decent. That is why you will always want to try to chain this ability, ideally with your own third Q, or with a strong ally CC like Lilia's ultimate for example. Now for the runes. Not much has changed in Season 13 for Yone runes, but I want to go over them yet again. The first, you press the attack. This is a rune that you will never go. It's only good on specific champions, and Yone definitely not one of them. Fleet used to be meta on Yone, not much anymore. It's very useless. Just gives you like a little bit of sustain, but you don't really need it. You have D-Shield and second one for that. Conqueror. This one, a lot of people are like, yo, why don't you go Conqueror on Yone? It scales better. Yes, it does scale better, but at the end of the day, Yone, if you already get to 3 items, it doesn't matter. You already won the game, right? Usually. So what we want to focus on is the early game. And the early game is lethal tempo. So every single game, you should always be taking lethal tempo. Always, always. Don't even look at the other keystones. Alright, now for this tree. So this is where it changes. So on this patch, 13.3, it is buffed Overheal. So I think Overheal is actually really, really good. It got a buff after level 5. So again, it scales harder, makes you like tankier. Very, very good now. So I think this may be the go-to now. But I'm not saying you always have to go Overheal. In lower elo games, I think Triumph is still better. Just because there's so much like killing, so much death. Very bloody games in low elo. So the 20 gold on every single kill helps a lot. So yeah, I think in lower elos, Triumph is better. In higher elo games, Overheal is just better. More consistent, makes you tankier. Very, very good. So yeah. And obviously this one, we don't use mana, you can't even use it actually, so yeah. Now for Legend Tree. So for the Legend Tree, it's always going to be Alacrity. Always, always, always. Just, you know, we're playing Yone. We want attack speed. Attack speed's really good. Always the go-to. Tenacity, like, honestly, when you're playing Yone, it feels really bad not having Alacrity. So, Tenacity does feel nice. Oh, they have a lot of CC, but at the end of the day, they even nerfed it. This patch, or last patch. So, yeah, we're never going to go this. And Bloodline, probably one of the worst runes in the game. It takes so long to set up, get up. It's like 15 stacks instead of these ones, which are 10. Like, yeah, if you get to 15 stacks, it probably does outscale Alacrity, but it makes the early game way too clunky. So, again, we're only going Alacrity. Way better. Now for this one. Last Stand is always going to be your go-to. Just does the most damage no matter what every single game. Synergizes really well with Shield Bow, and yeah, Yone's kit in general. Cut down, I don't really like because you're going to build HP items sometimes on Yone, most of the time if the game goes late enough. So if you build HP items, Cut Down just feels really bad, right? Doesn't really do anything. And Coup de Grace, just really bad rune. I would never look at this rune. And now for secondary runes. So for secondary runes, you're always going to want to go Resolve. All these other trees, we're not even going to look at. It's not worth it. The thing that Yone lacks is Sustain and Tankiness. You already have enough damage. We don't care about more damage. Like, we're not going to go Sorcery Tree. Like, oh, Gathering Sword. No, we don't want damage. We just want Tankiness. So, this is where it gets spiced up a little bit. So for this, it's pretty generic. It's the same, like, almost every game. Yeah, basically every game. But for Resolve, there's choices. So, Demolish, I would never really take. I don't think it's really worth it. We're not going to go anything in this top tree. Just not really worth it. What we're looking at is the runes in these two trees. So first we have Conditioning. Conditioning basically, after 12 minutes, just gives you a lot of tankiness, right? 8 armor, 8 magic resist. So yes, it does nothing early, but we're just playing to scale anyway. So in easier matchups, let's say you're against a Galio, a Twisted Fate, something that's like really easy, right? For Yone, you're gonna go Conditioning. Just feels really good. Outscales these other two runes too. For Second Wind, you want to do this against like heavy poke matchups. So think of Azir, Victor. Second Wind is very, very good. But again, even in lower elos, you could be taking Conditioning every single game. Just because it just outscales Second Wind, right? So if you feel like you have the ego, and the players in that elo are not that good at laning, which they're not, and you don't need Second Wind, just take Conditioning every game. It outscales Second Wind. But if you really struggle to match it, feels unplayable, make sure to take Second Wind. Again, it's like Azir, Victor, matchups like that. And now for Bone Plating. Bone Plating is for matchups that basically are really high burst that can't proc it off you really easily. So think of a champion like Qiyana. Qiyana has to like go onto you to proc it, right? And she's basically committing. Same with Fizz. Fizz has to Q onto you to proc it. So in matchups like that, Renekton, Pantheon, Fizz, even matchups like Zed, at least he has to like land a Q on you to proc it off, right? But again, if in your elo you feel like Bone Plating is just not for you, or you could just ego it and go Conditioning, always go Conditioning. But yeah. And now for the bottom tree. So we have Overgrowth is my go-to every game. Almost every game. It just gives health, right? Gives you like 200 health late game, feels very, very good. Solid rune, very consistent, can't go wrong with it. Revitalize, I don't really like. I think Overgrowth is just better. And so does every other Yone on like every server. I don't see anyone go Revitalize anymore. I think the main reason everyone goes Overgrowth now, or Revitalize, was Durability Patch. Durability Patch gave everyone more armor and magic resist, which means health, more valuable, right? So Overgrowth is always the go-to out of these two. But if they have a lot of CC, since we're not taking Legend Tenacity, Unflinching is your best friend. But I don't want you to go Unflinching against champions that you could dodge their CC, right? Only do it against, like, Annie. Let's say they have a Leona, right? Stuff that you cannot dodge or outplay. You know? I don't want you to just, like, who's who has CC that you can, like, dodge? Let's say you're against, like, an Ashe. We're not going to take Unflinching just for Ashe, right? You should just be able to dodge the arrow. So, yeah. In your brain, you should be like, okay, we're taking Unflinching, and we're going to lose 200 health late game. So just think of it like that. And now for these runes, always attack speed. We want attack speed, it feels really good. Adaptive Force, very, very nice. And for these, HP, if you're in an easy lane, because HP outscales armor and magic resist after level 5, I think. So yeah, if you're in an easy lane, again, like Galio, or if it's like a mixed damage type of game. Again, like Twisted Fate example, he does a lot of AP and AD, so I feel like health is just better than armor if you're against AD, MR if you're against MR. And yeah, that's about it. Now let's talk about the new item builds on Yone. So a little disclaimer here, we are releasing this and talking about this right now before the patch even lands. So this is going up on patch day, so it's still kind of a question mark, but these are the personal builds that I think are the best on Yone and what I want you guys to experiment on. So yeah, we're just gonna explain it all right now, and things may change, and if things change, then we will definitely make another video about it if, you know, the new build becomes popular or whatever. So yeah, so starting with the starting items, nothing's really changed about these, except for one thing. So Doran's Blade, obviously good against all in lanes, right? Who don't poke you out. So think about Kiana, Zed, stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't poke you really, but you want the extra HP and all that. So D-Shield, on the other hand, is usually what we pick for poke lanes. But honestly, since the D-Shield nerfs, I don't know, like 2-3 months ago, I don't like this item. I actually never build this item ever again. I think it's bad. I think it just automatically makes you concede lane, and you can't get solo kills, which is really bad for carrying, right? So what I do instead now is Longsword 3 Potion. You could also do Longsword Refill Pop, but I would only recommend this into like really easy lanes, like lanes that you just completely annihilate no matter what. So like think about like Aurelion Sol, maybe Malzahar, something that you think is really easy. Corki maybe. Even then, it's still kind of greedy, but if you really don't like the 3 potions, yeah. But obviously against stuff like Victor, you need the 3 potions. So yeah, instead of D-Shield, Longsword 3 potions. I really want you guys to try this out. I think it's really strong. So yeah, again, against poke lanes like Victor, Azir, Zoe, Longsword, 3 potions. All in lanes like Zed, Talon, Doran's Blade. If you really like D-Shield still, you could do it, but I honestly recommend against it. Other than that, before we get to the new builds and all the new items, Berserker Greaves, Rush, obviously. And Zeal is dead, in my opinion, because they nerfed it. I don't like it anymore. Alright, so on to the first build. The first build we have is a Gale Force build. So it's simple enough. It's Berserkers into Gale Force into Bloodthirster. So they changed Bloodthirster. It doesn't give us shields anymore. So now they got rid of the shield passive, and now if you're above 50% health, it gives you additional damage up to 40. So this can give 95 attack damage, which is so much damage. So honestly, we don't even need IE anymore, right? Infinity Edge, overkill damage. So yeah, you start with the Gale Force, which is now a mythic, which we can't build Infinity Edge after Gale Force. So this is going to be against stuff that kites you heavily, right? So like think about like Akshan, Lucian, and if you just really want to like snowball and have like extra burst. So yeah, so a lot of mobility, that extra dash, very good into high mobile comps. And then yeah, we go BT, and then the rest is situational, which we will get to. So yeah, against squishies, you do not want this in the tanks. Next build is Bork build. So this one is the same. Like, this is nothing new. If you're playing top Yone or you're against like a Galio mid or something, they're all really tanky. They did not change Bork. So we go Bork. Then we go BT, which in my opinion, this build's even better now, right? Because the BT gives extra chunk. So much more damage than old BT. Yes, it's less survivability, but so much more damage. Like, once you get 3 items, Bork BT, you have so much lifesteal, tankiness, even more damage. Feels insane. The reason I'm putting Jackshow and IE under all these is because it's whatever you want. Like, maybe some people don't like Jackshow, but what I would recommend is definitely Jackshow. IE, way too overkill. Honestly, I'm just gonna, on this specific build, definitely not IE. If you're going Bork, BT, that's more than enough damage. Just go the Jackshow, and then you can end the build with something else as your last crit item. Yeah, again, this is really good against tanks. Very good against tanky comps and top Yone. Next, we have Kraken Yone. This one, I'm not exactly too sure how much I like it. All I know is that 3 items, it feels really good, but the thing I don't like about Kraken is that it's single target. So, yeah, they made this not a mythic, right? So now it's like, you get a lot of value from it if you apply it over and over again. So, like, think about long fights. This is what you want for long-ass fights. Not assassins, not squishies, more like tanks. Which feels kind of awkward because it's like, if we're against tanks, we usually want Bork. So I think this is like, you want this against not tanky people, but like, they're not squishy. Like, in between, it's an in-between item, right? This does a lot of damage, and it honestly does feel pretty good at 3 items. So yeah, this is like against pure tanks. This would be against like mobility squishies. This would be against kind of like fighters. Like, think about like Riven and stuff like that, maybe. Extended fights. Next, we have Stormrazor build. Stormrazor is kind of similar to Gale Force, where it's really good to get onto people. So maybe you guys don't like the Gale Force, like being opted into the Gale Force Mythic. If you don't like that, Stormrazor does a similar thing. They changed it, it doesn't slow anymore, so once you auto with the energized stacks, you go really fast. So it gives you that distance that you need against those champions like Akshan, Lucian, but it doesn't make it so you can't go Jackshow for all the Jackshow lovers. So with this specific build, you go Stormrazor, Bloodthirster, into Jackshow. Or if you want to go Glass Cannon for those of you who are Giga Chad. Honestly, I think it's awful. Don't think Yone needs that much damage, so I would go Jackshow. And then now for the last build, Eclipse. So for those of you who have not heard, they kind of gutted Shieldbow. Shieldbow doesn't even give attack speed anymore. So against those lanes where you need that tankiness, Eclipse build is very, very, very good, in my opinion. The only bad thing about it is that you have to go a dagger, but at the end of the day, it's the same cost as old Shieldbow. So yeah, it's Berserker, Sit on Dagger, Eclipse. The build path isn't as good as old Shieldbow, but at the same time, this is the only other item I could find where it gives you that shield. So let's say you're against a Zed, LeBlanc, Akali, you want that extra tankiness with the shield, this is the go-to build with it. Yeah, let's just go over them once again before we get onto the situational builds. There are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different builds. This, anti-assassin, anti-burst. Movement speed if they're squishy. Same thing with Gale Force, but Gale Force makes you not be able to go Jackshow. So if you want to be tanky and do it, then yeah. So these are 2 against squishies. And this is all around. Honestly, this is an all-around build too. I wouldn't say it's just like for squishies. It's good against everyone. Just again, tanky people and squishies. If you like this build, try it out for sure. And then lastly, tank build. So that's all the builds, all 5 of those. So try them all out in the situations that I explained that they're good. And now we are on to the situational items. So now we're going to explain all these items after you complete the builds. Again, the IE Jackshow is for whichever one you want. Usually Jackshow in my opinion. But if you don't like Jackshow, you can go IE. Now to the situational items. If you want some extra damage, Wit's End is very good. Obviously, it's going to be less tanky than the Spirit Visage and the Force of Nature. But yeah, if you want the attack speed, the most damage MR item that you can get, Wit's End. So yeah, like as a third item, if they have a lot of AP, go to Wit's End. It's good. Visage is when you want some MR and you have, let's say, your team comp is Ivern, Lulu, or something like that. Then it's like, oh man, we have all this Visage value. And if you're building a lot of lifesteal, like a Bork Bloodthirster build, Visage is really good. This item they actually nerfed on the patch, so they made it a lot weaker. I think the movement speed is the same, but it gives a lot less MR, or less tankiness in general. So this is still good against high kite heavy comps because it gives movement speed. So if you want that movement speed, you want Force of Nature. So let's think if you're against Zeri Yumi and you need that extra movement speed, get Force of Nature. Death Stance, Obviously, one of the best items in the game. This should always be in your build as long as they have like 1 to 2 AD. Just anti-burst, all together, really good item. Next we have Maul coming into the mix too. So the thing with Maul, we never used to build it because Shield Blow made it so we couldn't, right? But now with these new builds, we don't have Lifeline, right? So it's like if you want the Maul, you should get the Maul. It's kind of similar to Wit's End. It's a little bit more tanky than Wit's End, I think, right? Yeah, it gives you that massive shield, and it has more MR. So it's a little bit less damage than the Wit's End. But if you want that in-between, like tanky damage, I would go Maul. Very in-between to Wit's End. Next we have Black Cleaver. This one's going to be really rare. I wouldn't really recommend this item. Only if they're super tanky, like think like Malphite, Sejuani, and no one else on your team can build Cleaver. You can get this as like a 4th, 5th item. It's not too bad. Next we have Silver Dawn. Always, if you're building QSS against those champions like Malzahar, Skarner, Rammus, always finish it into Dawn. Do not do the other QSS item, Scimitar. Scimitar has more damage, but at the end of the day, does Yone need that much damage? No, usually not. I would say maybe you can go Scimitar if you're going to build like Bork, BT, Jackshow, and then you need one more crit item for 100%, then you can go Scimitar, right? But on average, if you're not doing that build, you already have 100% crit. This one is better. The active is way better. And yeah, the health is really nice. I actually want to save Shield Blow for last. Randuins, if they have a lot of crit champions and you need that slow against heavy kite people, think if they have Kindred Jungle, Tryndamere mid, Randuin's insane value. Right, so if they have 2 crit champions, very nice item. I rarely build it, but those scenarios happen sometimes. If you really need Anti-Hail, no one else can build it. It feels really bad. Hopefully someone else can build it. You can get this. It gives the Armor Pen too. Armor Pen, but it just makes you really squishy, so it feels really bad. Hopefully someone else can get Grievous Wounds, but if not, you can get this one. Next we have Iceborne. I want to save Shield Blow for the end. Well, let's just talk about GA real fast. This one's a simple item. If you just want that GA passive, if the game is about to end and you can't afford the Death Dance, you want the stopwatch in the mid-fight, get GA. It's a solid item. Doesn't make you as much as 1v9 as Death Dance, but if you're like kind of poor, you don't have enough for Death Dance, get this item. And if your team is like relatively okay. Because if not, your team's useless, you're just gonna lose your GA and then die again. Now for these last 3. This one's super situational. It's a mythic as well. So think about the Bork BT build. Usually it's always Jackshow, but Iceborne can be better sometimes if you want that slow. So think about, the only time I've ever done this is against a Vayne top, right? Because obviously going this pure tanky item against a Vayne who does true damage isn't going to do anything. We want the slow from Iceborne. So that's really the only scenario I can really think of. Or if you just like it more than Jackshow, feel free, but in my opinion, Jackshow is just superior. Okay, now to the last 2 lifeline items. Sterix. So Sterix is actually on the table now because, again, we don't have to go Shield Blow first item. So if you want the extra AD and you need the tenacity, I would go Sterix. And if you already have 100% crit. So usually this is going to do less damage than Shield Blow, but if you want the HP, tenacity, I would opt for the Sterix. And lastly, last but not least, we have Shield Blow. So as you can see by the tooltip, it doesn't give attack speed anymore, and now the active gives attack speed instead of AD, which is a lot worse for Yone and Yasuo at the end of the day. So I don't really see myself going this item very often, although I was doing it in the Eclipse world a lot. So Berserker's Dagger, Eclipse, BT, and then Shield Bow. It was just so much tankiness, so much anti-burst, because this is the anti-burst build, right? So then we have 2 shields, so much lifesteal, it feels really good. So I'm honestly going to put this right here, because this is like what I did as the first 3 items always. If you want to go like Kraken instead, you can feel free to do that too. And that's another thing, like all these like Stormrazor, Kraken, they could be situational on other builds too. If you want the movement speed, if you want some like extra damage, like let's say we go Orc, BT, Jackshow, and you want your last thing to be Kraken, that's perfectly fine. Or Shield Bow or something like that. Just, it's very up to you at this point. But yeah, that is all the new items and all the new builds that I think, in my opinion, have potential to be good. So yeah, again, just want you to try them all out, and if anything changes, we will have an update soon. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that and enjoy the rest of the guide. Yone's early game is his weakest part of the game by far. In lane you can get punished pretty easily by range champs due to having very high CD on E, which is the only way you can trade with them. Your first goal is to get as much CS as possible without getting poked out until you are level 3 to start trading. In some melee lanes you could get a lot more aggro early and actually get lane priority. Don't be too hard on yourself if you're going down CS, especially against range champs. This is normal and do not tilt, because you will be much stronger than your opponent later on in the game. Another thing with Yone is that he really isn't the best roamer, but is a lot better at going for solo kills while freezing your own lane. So try to do this early game and wait for at least Berserker Greaves and Nuke before thinking about roaming. In the mid game, our job gets a little bit more fun. Your main priority in the mid game is to always be in a side lane when you can. By being in a side lane, you are a lot safer and you have more chances of getting kills since there will be less people around and the lane is a lot longer. The main reason we want to be side laning is to get as much solo experience and as much possible gold as we can. Remember, after you push your side lane, always try to kill your own camps and enemy camps. This helps snowball you immensely in the mid game. Other than that, you'll want to try to look for picks with your E and the third Q combo, and setting up plays in teamfights with your ultimate ability. Lastly, late game. To be honest, this part of the game is the hardest to give a general idea on how to play it because of how many different scenarios there are. But all I could say is that playing around Baron is going to be key to winning. So try to get as much vision as you can in the late game and put yourself in the best position to make picks and get that game-winning ulti to win the teamfight and get your team Baron. Now we're going to talk about how to teamfight with Yone. Again, this section is a bit hard to talk about since there are over 150 champs in League and how you teamfight against a mix of 5 of them varies a lot, but I will do my best to give the best tips I can for general teamfighting. First big teamfight tip is that you should never try to ulti someone who isn't CC'd and you don't have Q3. This is bad if the enemy just flashes your ulti, then you just wasted your ulti and E, so basically, did nothing the whole fight. So instead, ideally you want to go in with Q3, and if you knock up anyone with it, then ulti that person to the biggest threat of enemies. This way, even if they flash it, at least you are still comboing the person who was hit by Q3. Also in teamfights where the enemy carries are not walking up, that's perfectly fine. Just hold on to your ulti to zone them, and just focus the front line with your teammates. If they end up walking up, then E past the front line Q3 into the ult. Last step while teamfighting with Yone is if you have Bork in that specific game, then front to back is going to be ideal. Whereas if you went Shilbo IE, then getting a massive ult in the squishies is going to be way more effective. Now we're going to be going over Yone's mechanics and combos. First, we're going to start with the basic combo, just the Q flash. Very, very simple, it's just Q flash.
No rest.
Next, we're going to do something very similar, just W flash. Same thing as Q flash, just W flash. W, flash. Don't flash W, W flash. Now we're going to go over the short trade combo for Yone. So basically it's just in a melee matchup, just auto WQ or auto QW. So this really depends on the distance because obviously our Q or our W has a lot more range than our Q, right? Not a lot more range, but it has more. So let's say they're like really far away. You auto them, they're running back. That's when you want a QW. Just so that they don't run out of your range, right? But if they're not running at all, then it's better to lead with W. Just so we get the shield faster. Now we're going to go over the basic trading combo with Yone. Basically, this is just get third Q. And then we're going to E, third Q onto them. And you're just going to chain in all the autos, Ws, and all that. So I'm going to show that without the unlimited cooldowns. So you just want to make sure you get an auto between every single ability that you cast. Now we're going to go over a little bit more complex of a combo. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Yone Q actually has 2 hitboxes. The Q, the tornado. I'm going to show this. So it's tornado and his body. Which means if we flash, we can actually hit 2 different hitboxes on them. So kind of like this. So you see how the first hitbox that I'm hitting this guy with is my tornado, and then the other one is my body. And now we're gonna combo that with our ulti. So you can do it like that, you can do it backwards. Let's say that one person's here, and you hit both. We'll just do that again. Lastly, I want to show you guys the all-in combo with ulti. So you're gonna get third Q, E, third Q, ult immediately, auto, and then weave in all autos in between Q, W, and all that. So the thing with this combo is that you need to make sure that you hit the third Q max range. Because if you don't, and you try to ulti, they have time to flash. So just remember that key part. End of the Q has to be the end. Now for some tips. While getting ganked, instead of using your E into your turret, use it toward your enemy. This may seem scary, but this is how you make Yone into such a slippery, ungankable champion. So let me show you the difference of Eing into your turret. Let's say you get ganked. You E into the turret, and now, look, what do? You E back, and you're dead. Let's say it's a Rammus ganking you, you get taunted, you're dead. And now let's see the difference of that. Or we could just E into our enemy. So we're about to get ganked, he's about to taunt us. We E like this. We get our third Q. We go back, third Q out. Boom. My next tip with Yone is that, unlike other champions, you don't have to wait in the fountain. So let's say you're 50 gold away from an item in the shop, right? You're just sitting here. This is actually bad. So instead of just sitting here, let's say we're like 10 gold away now, and then we're going to E all the way back into the fountain, and then you buy your item. This is very, very important and saves a lot of time getting back into base, or getting back into lane. A tip of getting over this dragon wall is you E in, Q it once, Q it twice, get your third Q, and then you Q in. And we could do the same thing with Baron / Herald. E over, Q in. And this is going to go for any wall, not just those. So let's say we want to get over to the blue buff. Someone's chasing us, we can hit them. You can do this into every single wall. Another thing that makes Yone really OP is that your E makes you so safe of getting deep enemy vision, right? So most champions just like walk over here, find the jungle, you're dead, right? But Yone, you don't have to do this. You never want to do this. So right here, you E over the wall, take the blast plant, and do that all completely safe. And lastly, my biggest tip that I see so often in lower elo Yones is using your E and putting yourself on a timer. Remember, once you use E, you have to go back. So if you know the enemy has a dash, only commit to E once that escape is down or the enemy has committed to the fight themselves. So let's say example, there is... Let's say it was just a Rammus here, right? Rammus is like queuing away. So instead of just like following him like this, and we can't kill him, and we have to E away, instead... just follow him with Qs. For example, let me just show like third Q. We got a third Q, follow him with third Q, ult after him, and only E once he like ults or flashes away. Very, very, very important, and the biggest tip that I can give you guys. Starting out with the full gameplays, we're starting with a top lane game as Yone. Since this guide is a very general guide, and not just mid Yone guide or a top Yone guide, we're going to do one for mid and top. Because those of you who want to play top, those of you who want to play mid, right? Felt like it would be good to do it this way, so... yeah, we were against a Ornn in the top lane. We actually went full on scaling, so this is an easier matchup. Tanks are pretty easy for Yone, although Ornn's early game is a bit scary, so we're actually going to let him push. Champion actually has a 54% win rate at the moment. I don't know what happened, but Champ is a bit juiced. Yeah, we are going to look to just play very safe early with the D shields, just because Ornn has a pretty good early game. So the thing with top lane is that you just want to let it push half the time because you can really run down your opponent in the top lane, opposed to mid lane, right? Obviously there are some matchups where you can get the push, but there's no need. It just makes it a lot scarier by getting ganked a lot of the times, and yeah, you're just not going to be able to kill your opponent as much. Yeah, again, in this lane, Ornn's early game is a bit scary, so we're just letting it push, gonna play it safe. Not saying it's a hard matchup, because we did go conditioning, overgrowth, and scaling health. Just because we are going to outscale this lane pretty hard. Basically, we're just not playing to like go near him, because we don't want to take his W to the face. Just gonna go for short trades like that with our Q. Some W trades, while getting as much CS as humanly possible. Try to dodge his Qs. That's why we take D-Shield, because usually you can't really dodge his Qs if he's good. There's a really good chunk of health we get back, because we have to get by the Q usually. Also in this specific game, we're going to be going Bork build, just because, you know, tank jungle, tank top. Wow, I actually didn't get that. Don't see the Ornn right now. He may have just backed, which is completely fine. It's not like he can all-in us. Yeah, he did back. He got a cloth armor plus refill pot. The thing that we're not going to do is we're never E3rd queuing into him in this lane. The reason is because he's always just going to block the CC with his W, and we're just going to take the W to the face, which we don't want. Instead, we're just going to hit him with Qs and try to bait out his W just by queuing like that. But we're not really looking for trades right now because we're trying to get the wave in and then we get our back off. So we're just going to play with our massive wave. Just looking to get this in. Only bad thing is we're 100 gold off Berserkers, but just a really good time to back, just because he has a huge wave and it's going to be pushing back into us. Yeah, remember, you do not need to play super aggressive early for no reason. I'm actually going to greed here and not get refill pot and just stay on this potion. Okay, he hard pushes it. As soon as we see that he hard pushes, we TP back, so he try to freeze it. So now he's forced to walk into us, right? Because if he doesn't walk into us, we just freeze the lane. I don't think he has teleport, because I think he teleported back, honestly. Gonna thin it out, because we only need 3 to 4 minions to get the freeze. So instead of letting it crash, we get the freeze. Mundo's in a really good position, too, to gank this lane. Start playing aggressive now, because Mundo's coming in. So see how long I held my E for. A lot of bad Yone players are going to use their E really early there, and it's just really bad to do. Because if you E really early, then he flashes out, and then you don't, you have to go back to your E, maybe Mundo doesn't get the kill, and you lose a free kill, right? This guy TP? He may have just walked. Oh, looks like he actually wasted his TP, nice. So basically we let the wave push into us, and then after he backs, we get the wave back in because we have a huge wave pushing into him. And once we get that wave in, we back. And then if he didn't hard push there, we wouldn't have TP'd. But since he hard pushed, we wanted to TP ASAP just because we can catch the minions, which led to the freeze. Yeah, this lane is just gonna get easier and easier. And again, we're just going Bork because Bork is really good. I mean, honestly, this guy's not even going tank. So basically, their only tanky person is Ornn, but since he gets really tanky, and we're going to be sidelaying like all game because that's what top lane Yone does, we're still going to go Bork this game. So obviously if we're mid this game, we never go Bork. We don't even think about it. But yeah. Also, we see that our Heimer is recalling right now. So we're actually just going to let the wave push because we don't want to risk the Twisted Fate ulting top and throwing our lane for no reason. See that it goes for that. Not looking to commit because we know he still has W. But we're just baiting out like that. So I would all in him right now if they didn't have a Twisted Fate. Because Twisted Fate's gonna ult. If he sees us all inning. But we can honestly all in and beat this wave. Okay, he's wasted all his abilities. Stop his ult with Darolds. And eat your data minions. Oh, we grew to that really hard. Honestly, we could have E'd a little bit earlier there. Like, we could have E'd when his ult was coming and then cancel his ult with our ult. So we did E a little late there, but again, we're E'ing late just because we know we hard win the fight and we don't want to risk him stalling and then going back to our E and not getting the kill. Ooh, looks like we probably die here. Oh, never mind. He is scared for no reason. What the hell? Wave is kind of messed up. I'm actually going to E from afar. So this is a very unique Yone thing, which most champs can't do this. Lane is still going to freeze because jungle diff. But yeah. I want to get those last minions. Okay, let's... So we're not going to go refill pot this game because we already got Vamp Scepter and we're already hard winning lane. We're going to miss a whole can wave. Kind of stinks. Can't really do anything about it. Maokai just happened to be top to freeze the wave like that. So it's... yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. But yeah, top lane Yone is all about just like shitting on your opponent level 1, trying to like play right here, especially against lanes like Fiora and like Darius that can run you down because you don't want to be like on their side, and then just getting those like short trades. But this champ massively snowballs, so don't forget that. Okay, we got one. Oh, we get the center. Get the shields. Holy shit. Okay. I think we could have played that a little bit better. Maybe I should have E'd and then cleansed the Twisted Fate card. But it still works out. We buy a lot of time. Can't believe we don't die there. It's definitely greedy by me. Didn't think Twisted Fate would ult. So I think Ornn has teleport. Yeah. At least I didn't go for that because he has TP. Oh my god, that was really close. Nice. Yeah, as I was saying, we're just playing for the 1v1, and this is a really snowbally champion. Like, if you get one kill, you just take over the lane. They can't do anything. Against tanks, obviously, we're not really going to be hitting the Ornn really hard until we get our Bork. So, just remember that. Champ is very, very tanky. Ooh, I only hard pushed that because I thought Ornn was going to look to roam there. Because we just herald mid. I should have waited to see what he was going to do, because slow pushing would have been a lot better there. Deny him as much as we can. He's actually doing a really good job of staying up in CS. He's same CS as me. We gotta just take any trades that we can with our Qs and our Ws. And when you're getting prior like this, just go for short trades like this. Perfectly fine. We're not in any danger. Okay, we might be in danger actually. Just gonna ult out. Damn. I did not see him. I guess he went through, like, this way? Well, we do lose our ulti, but honestly, getting all this pressure, wasting more of TF's time is perfectly okay with me. Oh, so close. Oh, he just hard push. He has no teleport now. So I'm honestly just like baiting him. Like a good Ornn is never gonna do that because he knows you can just E his thing. But yeah, just taking advantage of bad Ornns like that, just standing next to the Q, maybe will tempt him to E in. And then when he E's in, you dash with E, and you just win the hard trade. Just like that, we bought enough time, and now we have Bork. And you're gonna see the power of Bork. So the reason why Bork is a lot better top lane on Yone than mid lane is because a lot of top lane, you know, it's known for being like that island, right? You're in that 1v1, you're away from the whole team, which is where Bork thrives, right? Like Bork is all signal target. It's not about that AoE ulting, so this is why Bork is a lot better. I'm not saying never build it mid lane. There's sometimes, but Shield Blow is usually better mid. Top lane is gonna be more or less. Not always Bork, but in these tanky lanes, like against Malphite, Ornn, even against non-tanks like Vayne, for example, Bork would be really good just because the Bork's going to help you catch on to her with a slow. But yeah, not every lane you're going to go Bork. Like, you're still going to go Shield Bow into like Riven, stuff that one-shots you, you know? Twist of Fate could look for us again. We see him. Also, rule of thumb when playing Yone, you can be really safe and just get a ward like that instead of walking all the way over there. Good deep vision. Now the only way we can get ganked is river, so I'm actually gonna keep hard pushing all these waves just so we could get some damage on this guy, because I wanted to show you guys. When you get Bork, you do so much damage. Like, look at that damage. We're just out trading him completely under tower. Oh, looks like Twisted Fight may ult us again. Even if he ults us, trading ults is completely fine. We're just wasting more of his time. Yeah, we almost full to zeroed him. Bork is kind of insane power spike. Wow, that shit doesn't kill. We're actually dead here. Oh, okay. Damn. The one thing you need to realize about Bork, though, is that the E damage is a lot less, because all the damage done by Bork doesn't actually count for your E. Oops, definitely grief there. Damn. If only I didn't waste my ults. See, going for that all-in on Ornn was actually really bad. I should have been paying more attention to my bot lane, because the thing where top lane can actually carry is getting those TP plays and like winning bot lane for your team, right? So honestly, worrying about killing this Ornn was kind of a waste of time, and I feel like a lot of people tunnel it, so that's what not to do. If I was actually paying attention a little bit more, I TP bot there, we honestly probably win the game. I got a double shutdown. So, definitely kind of sucks. But it is what it is. You can still carry. I honestly think Iceborne might be really good this game. Since we didn't go unflinching, they have a lot of CC. Get the tenacity from it. So I think we're going to go Bork, Bloodthirster, Iceborne, and then probably finish with IE. Yeah, we're still super strong. The bot lane's very, very strong. But we're just going to play to get Herald and try to get this tier 2. Hopefully Mundo lets us have it. Ah, it's really troll that he takes it. Is he very useless on him? Ideally, you just want to soul the Herald, so you make sure you get the Herald, and then you just play for the top tower. Because tier 2 top tower gives you so much. But unfortunately, you probably can't really contest that tower. This guy's definitely looking a bit tanky. Just gotta play the slow game. These are the aggravating games, though, where you're just against a pure tank and you're just way stronger, but you can't really kill him anymore. Which is why, again, our biggest misplay this game was not TPing. If we TP'd bot, we win the game there. 100%. I'm kind of just hard pushing this because I really want to like look for something else. Maybe I just go bot, honestly. Nobody's matching the bot lane. Oops, forgot longsword. Azir's got bot, I guess. Potentially can look for this. Them. Okay, thank God. He misses that. My E. Them. So ideally, I want to save TP for when Maokai W's. I can't believe he didn't W though. He just like walked up into W range, just like stared at him. So I really preemptively did it because I thought he would just do it. But yeah, I need to wait for the fight to go a little bit longer. Ooh, they're solo here. Wow, I actually died there. Jesus, that is with 1200 damage that fast. Well, definitely could have played that a little bit better. I cannot believe Azir just did that much damage being that fast though. He does have 2 items. Well, at least we got a shutdown. Ooh, team overstays. So there, I definitely should have just led with ulti and then led with my E. Being in the E like that was really bad. I lost myself a gap close for no reason. Made the fight really awkward. Them. Okay, well, at least we got our second item. Kinda stinks, but it happens. So these fights are all about gonna be trying to kill Ezreal without tunneling too hard. Because we don't want to just like dive him, get CC'd, and then, you know. So we're gonna want to play front to back and then look at their backline. Yeah, now we don't have TP, which kind of stinks. Hopefully our team doesn't die. But we're just gonna be split pushing. You're always gonna want to be split pushing, trying to go for these towers. I just want to use my E to get rid of his shields real fast. Nice. Completely fine with that. I don't really want to be stuck in this lane with Twisted Fate though. My team is losing a bit too hard. If I'm not there, they're probably just going to get run over. I don't like what's happening right now. So as much as I just want to split, when I don't have teleport, I want to be grouping a little bit more when our team is struggling. Done. Going for a desperate play there, honestly. See our Azir splitting. Okay, now I can go bot. This guy's kind of super overextended. Nah, I don't think we can get to him though. Not worth ulting. If I ult him right there, he's just gonna get out. I mean, he did have a shutdown, maybe. But if I'm using my ulti there, we're never gonna be able to kill the Ezreal, so I don't think it's worth it. Definitely need to be saving this ult for killing this guy. We push out the bot, maybe we can look for this. Nice. No, let me breathe, man. Wow, that was so awkward. Ah, that was so free. I ulted while CC'd, and for some reason it made me ult after the CC ended. I hate when it does that. I don't know if that's a bug, but it feels so weird. Nice. Too bad we were not getting any of these kills. Yeah, definitely not my best performance, but I think it is getting the educational point down of how to play this game. I will say, whenever I am like hyper analyzing, I play way worse mechanically, but pretty normal. But you see how I'm always the first like to that mid wave, because the mid wave is gonna be where the fight is. Don't want to just no-brain group, but I'm pushing out the wave, making sure Twisted Fate gets off the wave, we push in the wave, Saw under tower, and then I meet up with mid before the laner does. Which is how you're going to want to play this, right? You're stronger than anyone on the side, so you force them off, then you go mid. Especially when you don't have teleport. So we're going to go this. Again, we're going this just because... First of all, the slow is going to be really nice. They're all super range and like kitey, and we want some tenacity. So yeah, again, see how I didn't super dive on the Ezreal there? Because I don't have to. I could just focus the front, and if Ezreal steps up, then I can go for an ult on him. Again, just pushing out mid, looking for a pick. Oh, just like that. What the hell is this guy showing? Oh my god, thank god we were getting Iceborne. That is a long stun. I've been CC'd all game. Okay, it's a little scary. I love how our Azir just been splitting all game long. Honestly, good by her to do it though. Like, she shouldn't be, but since the Heimer won't go side, she has to. But yeah, again, that is why we were going Iceborne. Holy. So we use our E. He's too fast, there is phase rush. But yeah, see how we're not going in the side lane 24/7 just because we have teleport? We're looking for the pick mid, and then once the wave pushes towards the spot, then we're going bot. If that makes sense. So like, you should be being proactive. Like, look for that pick mid. Oh, Ezreal ints? Nice. If Ezreal doesn't int, then we would quickly go bot. Because the wave was right here when we were mid, right? So we go for the pick, he griefs it, nice. We get a free kill, the whole game changes. If he doesn't, then we go bot. Also, I think we just lost Baron. Don't know what my team is doing, but pretty sure we just lost the Baron Nashor for no apparent reason. That really sucks. Game was completely over. So they do that. Well, it seems really hard to contest that, so we're just gonna build up as much gold as we can. Yeah, really stinks. I think that should have been our Baron. You just got a free pick on the Ezreal, but instead they kind of just inted. Yeah, definitely a fairly low damage build compared to like Shilbo IE, BT, but once we get our IE, it'll be perfectly fine. I'm not really looking to fight right now. It's too scary. Yeah, again, we need to try to... Oh, we need to help her. She's just dead. We're gonna get out those 5 people. Ooh, we don't even get a trade kill there either. Ooh, I got one. Damn. Also, the lower elo you are, I would not really recommend going Iceborne, just because for these types of games where like you just need more damage, you can really tell that our damage is falling off quite a bit. Oh my god, Maokai is so obnoxious, man. You actually can't kill that character. That's a melee shot. That stuns me. Oh, we barely get that off. Thank Lord. Thank the Lord. If we messed up one more time, we'd probably lose the game. Big shutdown. I do think this build at the end of the day is going to be worth it though. Because that tenacity just saved us, honestly. So once we get our IE, the damage is going to be back. So do not worry. Honestly, I don't want to risk losing this dragon, so I'm just going to TP. As much as I don't want to. I don't think I had to, honestly. But again, didn't want to risk it. Unfortunately, it is Air Dragon. Not a very nice dragon to have. Although this game, since they are really a super kitey team, it's not going to feel too bad. But again, I'm not going to sit in the side because now I don't have teleport, and I don't want my team to just get caught, right? They have a Twisted Fate, Ornn, and as soon as I left my team, Zeri got caught. So if you don't have teleport, definitely try to just stay with your team a little bit more. Basically be a babysitter at the end of the day. Mundo is getting a bit for fun. Can't do anything there. I was looking for it, but can't really babysit. This game is really annoying though. This area is just, I mean, honestly, this area is doing the right thing. Her split pushing is fine. Just gotta look to make sure they can't push. Oh damn, 2 of them actually backburned. She's getting out. Ooh, she may be dead. And she wasted flash and both sums. Damn. Oh man, we hate Zillion. I mean, he's out of the fight. He actually didn't end up dying. Nobody dies here. I cannot believe that that Zillion did not try to, like, walk back in. I was really just auto... I mean... Well played by him, I guess. Damn. I really thought he would, like, walk back into my ult range. Because I was not focusing the whole time. It usually works. Yeah, well played by him. Not turning back. And notice I've just been getting like a wave every single like second of this game. Like legit every second, every minute of this game, I'm either like getting a jungle camp, I'm CSing a side wave, getting the mid wave. And yeah, we have 6 kills, 5 assists, and almost 30 CS at 31 minutes. So yeah, since we don't have TP, we're not going bot. TP is almost up, but I don't want to risk it. I kind of want to just force the Baron myself. Because if I'm in the split, my team might just get engaged on me, lose the whole game. It's not worth it. I'd rather just like force a fight at the Baron, even if I have teleport, honestly. Because Because by the time I TP, when my team gets caught, we might just lose the game. So, since I have 4 items, I may as well just force a fight at Baron. And the reason I have this much gold ahead of everyone is just because I've been like sidelining all game. I'm just getting so much of it right. Oh, I fucked up my E. Try to distract them. So yeah, exactly this. Oh, Heimer just killed again. Nice. So see how I didn't split, and instead I just rush the Baron. Rush the Baron with my team, and if they come at us, we just fight them. A lot of people that play top lane think if you have teleport, you have to go side lane. No, you don't. You're so fed. Just force the Baron with your team. The only way you can lose the game is if you go side lane, your team gets caught, and then you lose Baron, right? And then your TP just... you can't TP in time, right? They die in those first seconds. And the reason I'm so far ahead is just because the earlier part of this game, I was just CSing side waves all game long, getting 1v1 kills. I'm just getting so much side farm in the jungle camps because I was side laning. But yeah, and that is the full gameplay of the Yone top game. Next game, we are doing Yone mid, so I will see you guys there. And now we are on to the mid lane full gameplay. It seems that our team is cheesing level 1, which I will not partake in because it will just ruin the whole purpose of this video. It's full gameplay, so yeah. Just at the top one, this game we are against a Veigar, which is one of the easiest lanes for Yone mid, which is why we opted into the Doran's Blade and we went unflinching because they have quite a bit of CC that we can't dodge. The Garen Silence, the Evelyn Charm, the box that we can't really usually dodge, and they have some stuns too that we can actually dodge. But yeah, so this game we're not going to be going Bork, unlike the last game. If we were top lane, again, we could go Bork because Bork's really good into Garen, he gets really tanky. But in this specific game, Bork would be really useless because they just have a lot of burst, right? So we're going to be opting into just regular build, shield bow IE, which is what you're going to be going most of the time as a mid lane Yone, because it's not about the 1v1, right? It is about those team fights and roaming a lot, those multi ultis that you can get with your crit. But obviously, maybe if we're against like a Galio mid lane, we can opt for the Bork rush. It would be terrible. But yeah, so mid lane, when we're in range lanes, we're going to be in range lanes, right? So the difference between top and mid is top's going to be melee lanes. But just like we played against the Ornn, we let him push, we're going to let the Veigar push. Even though this lane is super easy, one of the easiest lanes for Yone, doesn't mean we can just start out level 1 being really cocky, right? That's how people lose. Wow, what is... That W legitimately looked like teleport to me. That was that threw me off. Ooh, that CS was really bad. I missed 2. He has perfect CS, goddamn. But yeah, that is the only way you can lose this lane, right? Is if you're really greedy, you're just taking every Q and W to the face just because, oh, it's an easy lane. Just don't be cocky. Again, just try to only harass him with your W when you can, and yeah, just be waiting to get to level 3. After level 3, yeah, you can go for any trade that you want against this guy. Kind of like that. We get level 3, we instantly get a really good trade on him. Get another Q if he walks up. Nice though. Yeah, for most lanes, mid and top, you're just going to be playing safe but letting the wave push into us. Even easy lanes like Veigar. Because we are not a champion against range until level 3. Always remember that. Don't be cocky. Rule of thumb, getting this ward is very, very good. It's the best mid lane ward that you can get. But the difference of mid and top is like top you really just have to worry about like freezing and then just 1v1ing your opponent. But for mid there's a lot of rotating. Like right now we gotta rotate. Honestly, I don't think we get the... Oh! Nice, we rotate, end up getting a free kill. Huge. So basically, when there is no time to rotate, you want to freeze on your opponents so you can try to get solo kills on them. But when your jungler's like invading, or there's a fight breaking out, you still want to try to hold the freeze, but you could just leave the freeze, and then go for that play. It's a little too hard to freeze. They need to change that skin. It literally looks like teleport every single time. Oh, don't look at the CSing. It's such a can kill him here. Oh! If we don't miss that Q, it's a kill. It's all about just like freezing, then trying to all-in your opponent. And going for those rotations. But obviously don't over-rotate. Like if you can't do the rotation, let's say you're against a harder lane like a Syndra or a Victor early game where they're just gonna like poke you out, don't kill yourself for a roam that you can't follow. Well, overstay by him. He does have teleport, so we should get our back off right now, actually. Remember when you're going for those dives, by the way, always put your E out of tower range. Because you don't want to E back into tower range, you just die, right? Alright, we're not going to agree to push this in, because then he's just going to teleport like that and freeze the lane. They're a huge buy. Should get a pink ward too. Yeah, I honestly don't roam that much on Yone. Like, we're not playing Kiana, we're not playing Talon. We don't want to just like push wave, roam, push wave, roam. Just push when you can, but ideally you want to freeze. Like right now when we get to this wave, we're going to try to all-in him with our ulti and force the freeze on him. But we're going to try to pick up this cannon first. See how we're holding our E for a really long time. Oh no, we're actually dead here. Almost dead here. That scared the shit out of me. That was the most random. I don't even understand how Garen could like anticipate that. Interesting. He just ran mid randomly. Oh, that could have been really bad. Could have used our E a little bit earlier there. I kind of forgot that Veigar does not have his flash. So did he flash there? I think he did. I think he already flashed. But yeah, just see that I went ult, not E-ult. If I go E-ult, we don't kill him in time. He's just gonna buy time. A lot of the times, you just want to ult in. If you know they don't have flash or like a dash or anything like that. Oh, our Trundle definitely could have went in right there. Do take a tower shot, but I do think it's worth it. I wish our Trundle went. He pinged that he was gonna go, and then he just went to blue instead. He bit troll by him. Troll by me too. I took way too much damage there for no reason. Just because it's an easy lane doesn't mean we can't die. We're actually at lethal range now if he just Q ults us. Okay, this guy wastes his box. If he walks in. We see our jungler over here. We get the push. That actually hits us. And we instantly turn on the Veigar instead. See how like it forces the Veigar into us? Like that is what you want to do. It's like, yeah, we're just freezing, we're pushing the waves. As soon as we see that our Trundle is invading, then we push. We hard push it in because we know Trundle is going to go for this invade on Evelyn, and then we're there first. We're there first. We're there to give him backup. We see that he's fine with the Evelyn, so we instantly just turn the Veigar and kill him. And the only reason Veigar dies is because he's forced to rotate to help the jungler, right? Although Veigar should read the situation and be like, hey, I can't rotate, I'm just gonna die. To be fair, he did almost kill me. So, I think it was a good risk to go for him. Yeah, once we get our lead, we're just gonna try to keep the wave right here in the sweet spot between these two torch thingies. Just because it forces us to get, or it allows us to get that trade, right? And once we get that trade, now he's so low, any play that happens, we can just easily rotate to. Because we have way more health than him. I think now we can just hard push. We can hard push, maybe look for him under tower with our next D. If not, can just play to look for Evelyn, honestly. Just keep going for those trades. Also, see, a little thing is that I always get my third Q. By the time I push the last minion wave in, I get my third Q. Like, I time it at the last possible second. Just to give me the most amount of time with my third Q. Very small thing, it definitely matters. Like right here, before it's dying, I third Q it. Definitely get in the habit of doing that. Just gives you the most all-in and zoning potential, so. Yeah, so this game we have out-rotated the Veigar every single time. And then when we didn't have to rotate, we have just been freezing the lane, denying him CS, and allowing us to trade and all in him. And now since we're so far ahead, we don't even have to do that anymore. We could just be going for these trades under tower. Definitely a little bit more greedy, but once we're this far ahead, we're 4-0, he's 0-3. Feel free to just keep doing this on repeat until we can all in him. Like, we have potions, we're not scared. We're gonna hard push next wave. Then time our third Q with the wave. And this guy should just be dead. Oof, my team did not need flash, but yeah, that's why we're not leading with ults. We're leading with the third Q, forcing him to flash, then we follow with ults. But see how I've not roamed a single time this game. I see so many Yone players trying to like, oh, we don't want to fight that. Can we even get out here? It's kind of scary if Evelyn catches up to us. We do have flash. Oh my gosh, he's so fast. Ah, we're good. Yeah, we kind of just read the situation there like super fast. If we didn't, we would have just died. Chubby as annoying as I can. I'm just gonna get my back off. I have so much gold. But yeah, see how we did not roam a single time. We're only gonna be roaming if one of our side lanes is getting like completely shit on and they are in like dire need of it. But there's just so many people that coach that just always try to roam on Yone. Like this one person tried to roam like before he even had like berserkers and ulti. It's like you don't want to force roams like that. That's a Kiana thing to do. Yone is all about just getting a shit ton of CS, just playing for yourself, going for those solo kills, and if you can get prio, then you play to help your team, like we did with the Trundle. But when there's no play going on, don't just be hard pushing waves. Just be freezing on your side, make them come up, get a huge trade. Once you get that trade, then you can dive them, which we did over and over. So Evelyn bot, we're gonna hard push, make Veigar go mid, and now we look for the Evelyn. If we can't find her, we can... Oh, we found her. Yeah, she's going right into us. Easy. And that's what mid lane's all about. After the lane phase ends, once we have an item, then we're just pushing mid and just diving side lanes. Oh, that's annoying. I shouldn't have E'd. Oh, oh no, oh no. Darius. Oh my god, this Vayne is actually smurfing. Damn, she's just too good at the game, or what? Okay, we end up getting her. She broke my team's ankles there, though. Oh my god. Just trying to bait her in because we have shield bow. And she's dead. Yeah, so this whole game we just went for the plays on Scuttle to help our Trundle. Froze the rest of the lane. Got those chunks on Veigar, which made us kill him multiple times solo. Then once we get our huge advantage solo, then we're looking to rotate and play for these side lane dives with our jungler. Just all about playing with your jungler. But obviously if your jungler's bad sometimes, can't really do it as much, so don't rely on that. If your jungler's bad, just rely on just freezing like we said and just going for solo kills. Yeah, and those are the 2 full gameplays. Hope you guys enjoyed those. Do not trade with Aatrox when he has his passive active. It has a very long cooldown, so whenever he uses it, look to trade with him. Do your best to dodge the sweet spots with your E, or you will take a lot of damage. If you get hit by his W, you can also E out of it, to the side and back. Don't fight him when his ulti's up unless you have grievous wounds, he will out-heal your damage. Don't ever Q3 into her if she has her charm up. If you do this, you're just going to take her E to the face and take a lot of damage. Do your best to dodge her Q early game, especially the return, which is the true damage. A good way of doing this is just not being in the minion wave. At level 6, it's going to be a lot harder to kill her since she's really mobile. Bait out the charm and then look for short trades with E, Q3, W, and then E back. Never ult into her if she has ulti, because obviously she's going to easily dodge it. Akali is an annoying champion because of her Q, Shroud, and dashes. Never Q3 into her if her E is up, or she's just going to dodge it and guarantee you get hit by her E, which is going to put you in kill range. Do your best to dodge her Q poke early. A huge chunk of HP is not worth that 1 CS. Taking the Qs is usually fine, but getting hit by the autos afterwards, big mistake. Use your E before you have Q3 so you can hit her more easily. Also, if you really struggle with this lane, early null magic mental is very good. Akshan is a very impressive early game champion. You cannot fight him, and you shouldn't even think about fighting him early game until at least Berserkers and Map Scepter. Play with the goal just to scale and hit your item spikes. Do your best to farm without taking too much poke, or you're going to get ganked or dove. Don't stay in the wave because he will just Q it, and the Q just goes further and further the more minions are in the wave. Anivia can be a pretty annoying champion, but I'd honestly say this matchup is pretty even. You have to dodge her Q early game though, or you're going to take a huge chunk of damage. Try to beat out her Q by Eing and running to the side. You can also E forward when she walls you, and then your E will go through her wall, you E back, you go right through it. You can escape ganks and save your life with this. At level 6, most Anivias will just perma-shove so you can just scale and farm for items. After one item, you easily out-tank her, can kill her easily. Annie was already a really hard matchup, but now they buffed her, made her even harder. Now they made her Tibbers even more tanky, and her shield do even more damage to you. So try to look to go on her when she has 0 stacks of his passive and already wasted her E. Try to time your W to block her Q damage, and look to all in again when she has no passive stacks. If you really struggle with this lane, rush null magic mental and she can never kill you again. This matchup is probably the easiest matchup in the game since the rework. The only damage spell he really has is to stay in place with his Q, which makes him a sitting duck and can easily combo and kill him. Basically just don't take too much poke damage after level 3, you can easily just go for any trade and always win. One thing I will say is try to time your CC abilities like your third Q and your ulti for when he starts the channel Q to stop all of his damage, if you really have to. This matchup got a lot easier, at least I think. If I'm being honest, I have not seen a single person play this champion since the changes to him in recent patches. To my knowledge, they made him a lot squishier early and made his Q poke do a lot less damage, while giving him more DPS, which is very good for us Yone players, since we are very easily poked and our trading pattern basically lets us get out by the time he has his soldiers up for his DPS. So again, in this matchup, try not to get poked by his Qs early game, and after a couple backs, just combo him off cooldown, you should always win the trades. Also, advanced tip, you can go through his ulti if you buff your Q3 when he casts it. This is a very easy matchup, and you're probably never going to see a brand mid because most people play him support. The reason this matchup is so easy because he has no mobility, so as soon as you get 6, you can just ult on him, easily kill him. Before then, just try not to take too much damage with his WE poke. After you get a couple items, you just all in him on cooldown. This matchup is definitely one of the easiest top lane matchups in my opinion. Basically, Yone counters Camille's whole kit. If he tries to walk at you to auto Q, just space her by Qing and walking away. If he tries to W, you respond with W to block it. Although this could be a bit hard early with no attack speed. Also, if she tries to all in you with E, you can easily dodge this with E. The only time this gets bad if you're hugging a wall, so try to avoid that. Lastly, remember you can always cancel her ulti if you already are in your E, snap back before the animation ends. This matchup in my opinion is definitely a Yone favorite early and you have to get a lead early. If you go even with this champion and she gets level 6, you can't go in on her anymore or she just ults you, W's, and you're dead. So try your best early game to dodge her Qs and try to time your engages with your E3rd Q while she Qs, so it's down. Again, after she's level 6, you should try to ult her instead of 3rd Q or you're just going to get stunned for free and killed. This matchup is definitely one of the easier tank matchups in the game. It does get significantly harder though if he goes AP, but still not very hard. Best thing you can do in this matchup is just not fight him early, because short trades are really bad. He has a lot of sustain. Obviously try to use your E to dodge his Q whenever he tries to Q, and every single all-in you will win. Just watch out for when he's 6 because he has an insane burst. This matchup is incredibly easy, probably Aurelion Sol tier, fairly impossible to lose. Only thing that's kind of annoying about this champ is that every time you try to E3rd Q onto him, he's just going to W away. But the best thing you could do is don't E3rd Q at full distance because obviously he's going to dodge it. So E, walk at him with your speed, wait for him to W, and then go on him. Only way you lose this lane is if you just get hit by every single rocket for no reason. This matchup is definitely one of the hardest matchups in the game top lane. The worst thing you could do is try to push on Darius because obviously he's just going to flash ghost and run you down. Best thing you can do is let it push and take very short trades against him. Another thing that you don't want to do is E3rd Q onto him because if you do this, he's always just going to hit you with E for free, get free auto Q on you, and you're going to lose the trade. Another thing with Darius, never fight him. Even when you're ahead, if you let him get 5 stacks, you will lose. So just take short trades, try to just hit him with empowered Q, and then lead with E to dodge his Q later. Honestly, dying in mid is a pretty rare pick, but I have seen it sometimes. I'd say this is a pretty even lane. You can lose fairly hard early if you get hit by every single Q, and her all-in is fairly strong, so watch out for that. The best thing you could do against Diana, though, is take Exhaust. It counters her whole ulti, and then when she commits with her E, you exhaust her, just run her down, and you win the fight. As far as tank matchups goes, I think Dr. Mundo is actually one of the easier ones, but it can be a bit tricky if you don't know what he does. So first, he has a lot of Q poke, so definitely do not stay out of minions, stay behind your minions so you can dodge all that, but do not stand behind minions that are about to die because he can throw those at you too. This matchup gets extremely easy once you get Bork, so if you really want to wait for that, just wait for that. Another thing is, he has a lot of healing, but honestly I feel like building healing reduction is just a waste of time, so do not waste 800 golds and just rush the Bork. Another lane that you're not going to see very much is Ekko mid. This matchup is fairly easy. The only way you can really lose is if you get by a stun for free, which should never happen. Don't autopilot and pay attention to when he Ws. Another thing is, don't stand on his ulti and let him ult you for free. Another thing you should never get hit by. Remember, he gets a lot of movement speed when he applies his passive, so save your E for when he applies his passive to chase him down. This lane is definitely one of the hardest, and I know it's a lot of people's perm ban, Fiora. Matchup is very hard. You have to take really short trades against her and never 3rd Q into her. If you 3rd Q into her, she's always just going to parry, you get stunned, insta-killed. Also, pay very close attention to the vitals. If the vital's in a really bad spot, just back away, get a new vital, and you're fine. Again, this matchup is very, very hard. She out-sustains you, so try to just let her push, go for short trades, and then once you complete Bork, you can take over the lane. Honestly, I've heard a lot of complaints about this matchup, which I don't really understand, because I think Fizz is actually one of the easiest lanes in the game. So first thing is, what's really important in this matchup is bone plating. Bone plating completely changes this lane. Because obviously as the champion who cannot poke it off you, it's going to help the lane immensely. Save your E for when he E's, so you should never get hit by it. If you really struggle with this matchup, you can pick up a null magic, especially if the enemy jungle is AP too. Also save your W for when he Qs at you. It can be a little bit hard to time, but you can do it. Other than that, just don't use your ulti when he has E and Q, and you should just win the lane. This lane is definitely very boring, but it's not really hard at all. The only way you can really lose this lane is if you just get bored, E third Q into him, and you're just going to lose every trade. The reason is, if you E into third Q, he's always just going to lead with E, hit you, auto, W, and you're just chain CC taking so much damage you can't retaliate. So instead, just play the lane, and do not E unless he aggresses on you. Once his E and W are down, then use your E, and you could easily all in him. If he doesn't let you, you should just get push on him, and if he ever tries to fight you, you just beat him. In this lane, one of the rare mid lane lanes where Bork is very, very, very effective. Another super easy lane that a lot of people think is hard. Garen actually has an insanely bad early game, so really abuse that. If he runs at you to QE, just land W before the silence lands and you get a massive shield, block all the damage. After this, just keep autoing to build up the lethal tempo. After the silence ends, use your E, keep all-inning him, and you will hard win the trade. Only other tip I have is try to poke him with Qs and Ws to make sure his passive's down as much as possible. This lane can be rather annoying since Gnar's poke can be frustrating early game. Only go for trades when he's in mini form since he is way squishier in this form. The biggest mistake I see people do in this lane is they E third Q at max range. If you do this, he's always just going to hop away with his E and you're never going to hit it and you lose all pressure. Instead, run him with your E once you close the gap and then third Q to make sure it lands. Other than that, never put yourself near a wall when he's mega obviously, or you will die very easily. Honestly, one of the hardest lanes in the game, especially when you rush GPs like Solar Baka. Luckily, you guys don't have to worry about that. You basically can do nothing early and just farm up. Once you get Berserkers and Nuclear, we can go for the all-in. Lead with your ulti, do not E ulti or E third Q because he will just hit barrel for you for free. Lead with your ulti, destroy his barrel, use your E after the ulti and all-in him. If you get to this point while being even, you should win every single all-in as long as you have your ultimate ability. This lane is kind of like the Galio lane, but a little bit harder. Watch out for his Q poke because it can be insanely strong early, especially when he goes Comet. Basically this lane, as long as you put yourself between minions, he can never land EW on you, and you should be able to kite him with QWs. He should never really die, but he should never really be able to kill you, so just farm it out, outscale him, and you should be fine. To be honest, no one even plays this champ anymore, but if you do verse at mid or top, it's just an AFK pushing lane for him. All you have to do is sit back and don't really trade with him. Worst thing you can do is E third Q onto him at max range, then he dodges it with E, you lose a huge chunk. But basically you just farm it out, let him push, and once you get Bork, if it is good for the game, you automatically win. Definitely one of the easier top lane matchups for Yone. Basically she's a scaling champ too, but you just outscale her and win early game because you have lethal tempo. Only way you can really lose this lane is if you take really bad trades and don't use your E to dodge her sweet spot Q. Another thing to note about this lane is that when she uses her W, you cannot ult her, so do not waste your ult and ult into the tower. Honestly, one of the most uninteractive lanes in the game. Basically, he will just put down turrets and will just push you on your tower and harass you with W, so it can be very annoying early game. Best thing you could do is get a couple items after you scale up, and if you ever hit him with an E third Q, immediately ult and you can all in him. Hard thing is, he's really fast and very tiny, so if you miss your Q3, he will immediately land E on you, and you will probably die one hit, so be very careful. I definitely don't have too much experience in this matchup because nobody plays Illaoi, but the worst thing you could do that I know is getting hit by her E. So try to position yourself in minions, and every time you third Q onto her, you're either baiting it out first by running to the side, or you're hiding behind minions while third Qing. So if you get hit by her E, you will always lose the trade, so just get out and try to get it off you. Another thing is when she ulti, she can't be CC'd, so watch out. She may try to bait you when you try to third Q into her ult, and she won't be CC'd, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And if she ults, disengage it because you will lose. After you get both her E and ulti out, you win every single all-in. I used to think this lane was impossible, but honestly the more I played it, it's definitely hard but winnable. First thing you need to look out for is her passive. Either let her push the wave on you, or contest minions early and fight her before she stacks up to 4 stacks, because you will always lose. Another key thing in this lane is always, most important thing, use your E to dodge her E. Getting hit by even one of these will instantly end the lane. Also in this matchup for items, definitely go Bork. Super advised. If you go Shilbo and she goes Bork, even if you're like 3 kills, 4 kills on her, she will 1v1 you, so be very, very careful. Another very hard matchup like Irelia, hard but winnable. First thing you need to know about this matchup is Jax's weakest point in the game is pre-6, so really try to abuse that. Basically, you should be able to poke him with QW fairly easily in the wave and get the push on him, and if he tries to retaliate by Qing on you, instantly E away, and then once his E runs out, start trading on him. The key thing in this lane is that if his E is on, you cannot fight him. Once his E is off, you automatically win fights, especially when you're in your E. So just take advantage of the early game, don't get outscaled, win the lane. Probably the hardest lane in the game for me at the moment. Although like GP, a lot of Jayce players are bad, so it may seem easier than expected. Starting level 1, we just have to give CS because he has insane poke damage. The best thing you could do is stay away from minions and take as little poke as possible and wait for some items. Do your best to dodge his EQ poke in range because this does massive amounts of damage. Also, when he's in hammer form, his Q has a massive radius, so watch out near minions. Other than that, just look to go on him with your E3rd Q when he's in range form since he's a lot squishier. Note that his ult cooldown is 6 seconds, so use this to your advantage. Karma's another lane that's kind of like Gragas and Galio, where you can't kill her, but she's never going to kill you. Although she is very annoying early because she does have insane poke, unlike Gragas and Galio. Her mantra Q is very hard to dodge, and if she's good, you can't really dodge it. So basically just take D-Shield, second wind, and just farm it out. I will note when she's mantra Wing you, try to get out of the range or she will get a massive heal and you will be stunned for quite a bit, or rooted. But other than that, just farm it out, outscale her, and eventually you win the game. Karthus is a champion you're probably never going to see unless it's jungle or AD carry. Nobody really plays this champion anymore. But if you do, it's a very insanely easy matchup. The reason it's easy is because he has no mobility, no hard CC, so once you get a couple levels, you just E3rd Q, he can't do anything. Only way you can really lose this lane is if you're really greedy level 1, level 2, and just walk up, take 10,000 Qs to the face, and die. So just don't do that, and you're completely fine. Fairly easy matchup for Yone, and when played right, it should be impossible for Kassadin to play the game. Basically, the only way you lose trades versus this champ is if you allow him to auto W you early, which should never happen, because you should be spacing with Q. Cheater recalling is also super nice in this game because there's no way of Kassadin to stop you, and you get a really good freeze. Again, try to freeze as much as possible because he's a sitting duck pre-6, and we really need to abuse this. After level 6, try to time your 3rd Q for when he ults, because early game, Kassadin's ult is a 5-second cooldown, so really abuse this. This lane is pretty boring because she will just try to roam. Do not stand or near her daggers because that is the only way you will lose trades. Another thing that you never want to do is 3rd Q onto her, because if you 3rd Q onto her, she's always going to dodge it with E, and if you 3rd Q into a dagger, you're just going to take a huge chunk of damage, so never do this. So try to go on her with either Q1 or Q2 because again, she will easily dodge Q3. Another thing is when she ulties, immediately ulti at her, and she's forced to cancel it. Probably one of, if not the easiest champion in the game to verse is Yone. Maybe Karthus is a little bit easier, but both are insanely easy. She can try to cheese you level 1 if she takes lethal tempo, so watch out for that, but usually you can probably still win it because you have lethal tempo too. Basically, she's a sitting duck, she's a melee champ pre-6, so really abuse that just like Kassadin. At level 6, it does get a little bit harder because she's ranged, but again, just get your 3rd Q, E onto her, normal trade, you will always win it. When she's level 6 again, you do have to look out for her ulti, so as soon as she ults, just E back, and then on next E, just kill her. Easy lane. This matchup is very annoying early game. The reason why he's very annoying is because he's ranged, has CC, and his hitbox is very tiny. Play safe and try to scale and just go for short trades. Pick up an early mantle similar to the Annie matchup, and he can never 100-0 you ever again. Again, play to scale, as soon as you get shield bow mantle, you just face tank him. If this is Kennen mid, I would definitely say take exhaust. It counters his ulti very well in lane and in teamfights. Again, the worst thing you could do is E3rd Q miss and you get stunned, so just don't even look for that. Just go for short trades, try to scale up. Clyde is definitely one of the hardest champs in the game to verse, and my personal mental block, and a lot of people's mental blocks. Do your best to dodge the Qs, because if he lands Q into E, you will always lose a trade. The thing that you need to know most about this matchup is that his W actually has a cooldown that he can't really control. So as soon as you see him auto some minions, that's the best time to go on him, when his W is off cooldown, or on cooldown. Go for the all-in on him and try to save your ulti for when he's dismounted, because you're going to need all the burst you can so he doesn't mount back up. If he mounts back up, especially early game, he will just out-sustain you and the lane is over. Also, Bork is very good in this lane because he has one of the highest base HPs in the game. Kassadin has been hit by quite a few nerfs, but he's still a very annoying champion to verse. Basically, he has Yone Q, where on his 3rd Q he stacks a NATO, so you always try to dodge this or he's going to CC you into him. Another thing to look out for is he cannot be CC'd in his W, so really watch out for this and try to bait this out before you all-in him with your E. Other than that, be careful standing next to a wall after level 6 because he can easily put you in a terrible position, hitting you through the wall and going into all-out mode, where he is insanely more powerful. Bork is super ideal in this lane, and try to abuse him early game because that is when he's weakest. This matchup is incredibly hard and my personal permaban and the hardest matchup in the game mid lane. Not only does she shit on you level 1, she also has really good gank setup like Galio. Use your W when she throws Q at you, try to freeze the way over your tower because if you try to play up, again, her gank setup is amazing. Play this matchup to scale. Don't think that you have to out CS her. As long as you're like 20 CS down and going even, that's winning. try to go for short trades like E auto 3rd Q, because you are never hitting E 3rd Q on her. Again, never Q3 into her because she will just double chain you, W away, and you're dead. Solo lane Lee Sin isn't really a thing anymore, but some people still play it because he was recently buffed actually. Best thing you can do is try not to be in the wave and take free E's and try to dodge all of his Qs. At level 6 it does get even more scary because his ult is point click, which means he's always going to land his E, his ult into Q into E. So try to just play safe early and then go for all-ins after his E and Q is down. This lane isn't really too hard, it's kind of just like the Galio lane, where you can't really kill him, but she can't kill you. Don't stand behind minions because her Q is increased range here, so it's very scary and you're going to be slowed, which makes it easier to get ganked. You can catch her from surprise later on with E 3rd Q because her E definitely has a bit of a delay on it and won't bring her very far. At level 6 it can be very annoying if she gets ganks because she's going to ult you W and you're just CC'd forever. If you are in your E, if you time it correctly, you can cancel her ulti, so really look out to try to do that. Also, when going for an all-in, chain your Q into ult if she's low enough and she will not have time to ulti. Nobody really plays Lulu solo lane anymore, but if you see it, it's kind of just like the Karma lane. Pretty hard to kill her because of the shields, the polymorph, the ulti, so don't try too hard to kill her. She can't kill you after all. I will note in this game, when you go on her, try to E back while she polys you so you're not just stuck there. After the poly's down, then you can ult back onto her. This matchup can be annoying early game just because Lux has a lot of harassed and you can't really dodge her E's, but it's not too bad. After you get level 6, you can just easily all in her. Wouldn't really look to E 3rd Q onto her because if you E 3rd Q, she's always just going to land QE early game, but you can do this later on because you can just out trade her and stat check her. Especially at level 6, you just lead with ulti so she can't even land Q, easily all in her. This is one of the more annoying tanks to deal with, just because the attack speed's slow on E and his massive armor early game. His poke can also be very annoying, especially if he goes combat, so try to always time your W for when he Qs you. You should never be able to 1v1 him, and he can't really 1v1 kill you, but when he's level 6, be very careful because his gank setup is really good. But, just like any tank matchup, Yone's generally really good in the tank, so as soon as you get Bork, the lane is over. This matchup is definitely very easy. You can't really get hit by his Q, you one-shot his minions, and all he has is his E. It does get a bit more annoying at level 6, obviously, because you need to buy QSS. Usually I greed and get the QSS after shield bow, but if you want to get it before, feel free. But yeah, very immobile, just get rid of his shield, easy. Probably one of the easiest tank matchups in the game. Nobody really plays Maokai top anymore, but if you do, very simple. You just WQ him from range. If he ever commits to W, you just all in him. He's only really going to W you if he's getting a gank, so yeah, just watch out for his gank setup because he can CC you for quite a while. I feel like this is another matchup where people say it's really hard in lower elos, which I understand it. Mordekaiser's just a low elo stomper, but it's rather simple. Just stay in the minion wave and his Q really doesn't do too much damage, and then you can easily kite him with just Qs and walking away, W, all that. The only way you really die in this matchup is if he ults you, but you should only go on him with your E when he's level 6, because when you do this, if he tries to ult you, you can react by Eing back, and then you should never get ulted. This matchup becomes completely free when you get Bork. Another thing is, when he Ws, you should just E away, because you're not really going to be doing too much damage through the shield. Nasus is a very similar lane to Kassadin, very easy and very punishable early game. He's so immobile and incredibly easy to gank, so freezing is very effective against him. Trade with him when he goes for sacks, as that is his only way to deal damage to you. Anytime he withers you, just disengage. The attack speed of movement explode is way too oppressive and you do not want to trade with this. So usually, don't use your E until you get his wither out. At level 6, be very careful and disengage because that is when he is super strong. This matchup is annoying as hell. You could never Q3 into her or she will just E you and you will get full combo, lose all of your HP. E back, especially when she channels her ult. If you get hit by her E's at all, prepare to lose lane or at least all your HP. If you hit her when she uses W while in the E, you can see which one's the real one because of the E marks. This is the one good thing about the lane. Don't let her poke you for free as best you can, and don't stay in the same spot or the Q will just keep dealing more damage and more damage. Remember, Nico does not scale very well, so play to not lose instead of to win. Probably one of the most even matchups for Yone. Her poke is very annoying early, but she's very immobile. Don't let her auto or poke you for free, because the more times she autos you in a row, the more damage she deals. She's decently tanky because of her E passive when her ball is on her. Look for a trade or all in when the ball is not on her, so when she Qs to try to harass you. You start winning this matchup after Zerx and Vamp Scepter. This matchup is fairly simple. Do your best to dodge his Qs and don't stand near his Q or walls because of his E will knock you up. Don't let him W you auto because this is where all of his damage is. You can also use your E at the last possible second to dodge his ulti. Save your E for when he W's you, you will go behind him and you won't get the brittle on you. This matchup is impossible early game unless he misplays. His kit just counters yours. You have no way to trade with him because of his E, he get his full combo on repeat and you have no way to react or outplay. Either be super safe in this lane or you will die over and over. Do not walk up when he has passive fully stacked. You really only have a chance after you get Shilba, but even then his champion is better than yours and actually does scale. Play with the goal to scale, use your W when he Qs or W's you to dodge some of the damage. You can also E his W if you time it correctly. I know I said tanks are easy for Yone, but Poppy is definitely the hardest one. First thing you need to do is always watch out for her passive. Always save your W to block this damage. Another thing is you need to never put yourself in a position to get E into a wall, or you will lose at least half your HP. Other than that, don't stand under Qs, and if you ever in melee range of her, wait to use your E in Q3 to not get stunned by your W. Bonus tip is to cast your E as soon as you're about to get Poppy ulted to return right where she hit you. Obviously, only if this is a good idea. Also in this matchup, Bork is definitely 100% needed. This matchup is annoying because of her stealth and mobility. Early cloth armor is a must here, so she can 100-0 you with no counterplay. Do your best to dodge her Qs. You could dodge her ulti with your E or ult. Don't stand near walls kind of like Poppy or you'll just instantly get 100-0'd. Ping her when she's mid because she loves to roam. Be careful in the river because her ult does the same thing against walls. Any part of the river, you will get stunned. Also, if you see her not have stealth elements, this is your time to all in her because she's a sitting duck. This matchup is very similar to the Akshan matchup, but not nearly as bad. You can't E into her or she will just E you in return and you will lose all of your health. Instead, you should always E into Q3. Don't let her poke you for free and give up CS when necessary, but do your best to stay in experience range. You outscale her at Shilbo, so just do your best to farm it out. This matchup is impossible to win 1v1 just because his kit completely counters you, kinda like Pantheon. The only window you have to beat him early is at level 1 and level 2. He's incredibly weak at this point. After that, you can't really trade with him unless he misplays, especially if he has Fury. Be extra careful if he has Prowlers because he will 100-0 you even through tabbies. Exhaust is a must in this matchup. This matchup is another insanely hard one. He will constantly hide in bushes and keep chunking you when you try to CS. Your best bet is to go Exhaust in this lane, and all in him when he's low in Ferocity and he commits to the all-in. Save your E for when you have max legal tempo stacks and when he commits by not using empowered E. Cloth armor early in this lane helps a lot too, especially if he goes lethality. Another nightmare matchup is Riven. Exhaust is super good in this lane because it's the only counterplay to her all-in. Make sure to never E Q3 into her because she will always have a dash to dodge it. Instead, lead with Q3 and take trades on her with your E after she runs out of dashes. Use your Exhaust only when she commits to the fight or else she will just dash away and it will be wasted. This matchup is very hard. He can miss everything and still kill you just because of how his heat works. Do your best to dodge his E's because this is a lot of damage early game and it gives him more magic pen. Don't fight him when his Q is on because this is where all of his damage is. Ping him Mia because Rumble loves to roam. He just has way too much damage for Yone to handle early game. Do not fight him when he's overheated, his autos will out damage yours. This champ can be annoying early game because he just hard pushes you in over and over again. Don't let him harass you for free and don't stand near the wave where he EQs or you will just get hit by it too. You can kill him at level 6 especially if he missteps, and even if he tries to ult away, if you land ult or Q3, it cancels. This matchup is free. You get to scale and she has no kill pressure on you at all. You roll her at Shilbo or just farm until then. The only thing that's annoying about Seraphine is that it's really hard to kill her because her kit is all about not dying, so if she plays so far back, just push the lane and roam. This is another matchup that's really hard. Don't walk up near your minions or you will get E'd into them and stunned and out-traded. He also out-sustains you because of his passive. Save your E to try to dodge his W, but he will just stat check you the whole game. So you'll probably never win 1v1 unless you outplay him. Lane is a bit easier after Shilbo, but set will be set. If Poppy is the hardest tank to versus Yone, then Shen is definitely the second hardest. This matchup can be really rough if you're bad dodging his E. The best way to play against Shen is to use your E to dodge his E, but his timing can be fairly hard, especially in melee range. Another thing to note is you never want to use your E until he uses W, or all of your E damage will be negated. Other than that, remember he has no offensive ultimate, so at level 6, the longer the lane goes on, the easier it gets. Rule number 1 of League of Legends, don't chase singed. Jokes aside, this matchup is fairly easy and almost impossible to die in. Only thing you can really have to look out for is when you're near his turret, he may fling you into W and have you tank tower and die. Only other tip I have in this matchup is just don't get baited and overchase him, especially when he's in his ult. This matchup is incredibly easy, probably the easiest tank matchup in the game for you. He has such long cooldowns early, so abuse that. Later in the lane, it's more annoying because of how tanky he gets, but his abilities are still telegraphed. He should never kill you. Respect bushes and don't let him fully charge Q and catch you by surprise. You can break his W before it charges almost always to block the damage. Remember to save E to dodge his Q always. Sylas can be very annoying early because he has way more sustain than you. You should never E into Q3 into Sylas if he still has E up, or he will always dodge it and win the trade. Remember, this matchup gets easier and easier, and if he ever overextends by using his E into you, make sure to take that advantage, run him down, because you always win the long trade. This matchup is one of the more annoying mage matchups in the game. She will always try to Q you when going for CS, so watch out for that. When you E, she will just E you in return and counter your E. To counter this, try to be more erratic with your movements to dodge it. You can only all in and trade with her if she misses E, but a good Syndra will never do this. Early Mantle is really good in this lane, so she can't full to zero you until she hits 6. Play to scale and set up ganks with your jungler because she's very immobile. This matchup is fairly easy, just respect his level 2 power spike. Don't let him land both parts of his W or you will lose all of your HP. Pick up an early Claw Thumber if you really think you need it, just like the Kiana matchup. When he Ws, you can always E behind him to dodge it. He can't proc passive if you do this. At level 6 it's a bit harder, but the way you play remains the same. Since the buff to his Q, this matchup is a lot harder because his Q lasts a lot longer. Do not fight him early because of the poison. Play to scale, don't worry about trading with him. He will outtrade you with Q always because you can't auto. But your Q will go through it. Once you get Shibo, the lane is a lot easier. Get Red Trinket around level 6 so you don't hit the shrooms. The more I played this lane, the easier it became. The thing with Tristana is because of her E passive, she can never freeze the wave, which is super good for us. So you can just sit back and collect farm under tower. Take bone plating in this lane and really try to time your trades when this is up or you will almost always lose the trade. The best thing you could do when she jumps in is try to E forward, not backwards. If you E backwards, you're just going back into death. E forward to get your Q3, return E, and then get back to safety. Also, Exhaust is super good in this matchup. Use it when she jumps in so it takes a lot longer for her to be able to jump back out. Another matchup where you really need a space to win is Trundle. Always be using your E to kite him when he tries to run at you and beat you down. This matchup only really gets hard at level 6. Whenever he ults you, just disengage because this is when he's his strongest. This matchup is annoying, but it's Yone favored. He out-sustains you, so even trades are not ideal. This is the type of lane you can never just fist fight and trade blows because he will just outstat you. Instead, you should always be looking to space him with your E, especially when he commits by Eing into you. Ideally, try to time your W for any E's to block a lot of the damage. Lastly, after he's 6, always make sure to have Q3, ulti, or Yone E so you can kite out of his ulti. Fairly easy matchup, but can be a bit annoying if the Twist of Fate is good due to his W. Basically, you just want to save your engage for after you use this card to either get mana back with blue card or to clear the wave with the red card. If you go in before this, he will just stun you, walk away, and land a free Q. So anytime you see his W's down, feel free to go for the all-in. Use your E to dodge his E. If you ever get hit by his E, you either die or have to blow flash. He completely controls the lane early game, so just do your best to farm and scale. The worst thing you could do in this lane is E into Q3 because he will just always land E on you and you massively lose the trade. Instead, just look to Q3 and fight him without E and save it to react to his E and dodge it. This lane is similar to Akshan or Lucian. You can't walk up for CS or you'll just get chunked, so do your best to stay in experience range. The best way to trade in this lane is either E without Q3, or when you have Q3, use your E to walk into melee range so she has no way of dodging it. Ideally, waiting for ganks is best option, but if she ever blunders and you land a combo on her, she should die full to 0 because she's extremely squishy. Also, when she commits with ult/ghost, this is usually the time to E back and ult away because you are most likely going to die. This matchup is incredibly easy. You get to free farm and scale. The only real threat he has is his cage, especially if and when you get ganked. Your E will stop the stun, but you will get stunned when you return back. If you're in the cage, you can ult out since it's unstoppable. Another very easy matchup for Yone. Stay out of the wave when he W's because this is the only way you can get hit by it. Also, you can use your E to dodge his E. When he uses abilities on the wave, then you can look for a trade or an all-in. He should be pretty easy to kill after level 6 since he is immobile, but he will stay on his tower for most of the game. This matchup is a nightmare early. Her kit just counters yours. Her passive will fear you out of your Q3 and your E. Go on her when she uses her spells to wave clear and when her passive is on cooldown. You cannot fight her when her passive is active. Early null magic mantle is very good, similar to Annie or Fizz matchup. Also, if she ever tries to hit you with a Q or E combo, this is when you should look to dodge it with your E and look for an all-in since she's wasting her passive. Another matchup I almost never see since he's mostly a jungler, but can honestly be a bit difficult if you aren't used to versing him. Dodging his Q is pretty much impossible, so don't really worry about it. Instead, worry about him autoing you since that's where all of his damage is. Try to space him with your Qs and Ws and don't get in his auto range. Be careful when he E's a wall because he can easily catch you out with a stun and full to 0 you. Also, last thing to note is he can't be CC'd in his ulti, so be very careful when you try to Q3 ulti combo him because if he ults, he just dodges it. Pretty much just a farm lane. Just don't take too much poke from him and you should be fine. He will look to push you in when he gets his E augment, so look out for that. Use your W to shield some of his Q poke. If you ever Q3 or E into him, he will just W, so E out so you don't get stunned. At level 6, it's a bit easier, but he does a lot of damage, so try to trade or all in when he uses Q or E. A good Vlad can make this lane hell, especially if he goes electrocute. You can just perma engage on him, but do not go on him when he has empowered Q. Getting hit by even one of these can throw the whole lane. You can put some extra points into E even after 4 points Q, since having your E a lower cooldown than his W helps a lot. Executioner isn't really needed since you're taking Ignite anyway. Also, if you get behind, Null Magic Mental is needed or he's just going to keep one-shotting you. Ever since the champ got gutted, I hardly ever see him anymore. Basically, they made the champion's Q so slow you could just easily kite him and you have nothing to worry about. So basically, just save E for when he tries to Q you and avoid his E's, and this lane will be a breeze. Also remember, if you time your E correctly, you can even cleanse his Q stun. Honestly, I've not seen someone play this champ in solo lane in a very long time. Matchup used to be impossible, but since nerfs, I don't think it's too bad anymore. Only real thing you need to worry about is his level 1 because it's extremely strong. After level 3, you should just be able to outstat him though. So just auto Q W, and when he E's into you, if he tries to W out, chase him with E and it should be a breeze. Basically, this lane is just dodgeball simulator. It's all about just dodging all of his skill shots. Best thing you could do is just freeze under your tower so he's forced to walk up, and then you can all in him with E, 3rd Q ults. Yasuo is a lot stronger until level 3. Just don't take too much damage early and you're fine, and always let him push into you early. He will look to win wall your Q3, so never max range it. Remember, if you hit him with your body, it will still knock him up even if he win walls. Look to W his passive away whenever you can. This matchup is basically get rid of his passive, fight in your E, and you will win every single all-in and trade. Do your best to dodge his E's with your E, so his ghouls don't jump on you. As long as you dodge his E's, you will win every single trade easily. Also, it's ideal to fight him when he hasn't stacked his passive up, so if you see no ghouls with him, go on him. You will win every single time. After 6, it can get a bit more annoying, since he summons his ults, so try not to be too behind this point or it will get very oppressive. This matchup is a nightmare if the Zed is good. You have to save your E for when he uses W or you will have a hard time dodging anything. You absolutely have to take Exhaust against Zed or you will die and repeat. Pick up an early Cloth Armor if the lane is even or behind. You can't Q3 or ult him unless his W and R are on cooldown, because he will just dodge, either kill you or out-trade you. Take Exhaust and try to time your engage with Bone Plating. Don't just let it proc it off for free. Use it to your advantage. He can't really play the game against you. Just dodge his Q poke and this lane is a breeze. The matchup is kind of just a farm lane because if you ever E Q3 onto him, he will just W away. If he does this after 6 and walks back up when your E is down, just ult him and catch him by surprise. This matchup is pretty annoying early, but once you get Zerx and Vampiceptor, she can't really do anything against you. Don't let her harass you for free early. Also, keep in mind if you ever get hit by her E, always just E back and it will cleanse it every time, which makes this matchup easier and easier the more items you get.